Okay, welcome everybody. I want to thank you all for coming to the AdvaMed's Patient Pavilion. I am delighted to be joined here today by a breast cancer survivor, Judy Short. She was involved in a clinical trial for a Stryker product prior to the broad approval. And so, Judy, why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I was born in Wisconsin. I'm the oldest of 7 children. I met my husband, Tom, in Wisconsin when he was in Madison working for the Department of Justice. So we married and we moved our home to Alexandria, Virginia. And we're actually going to be celebrating our 50th wedding anniversary next month, November 22nd. And professionally, I started out as a med tech working in hospitals. But after I was married, it really wasn't a good fit for me. So I went back to school and studied history. So the last 20 years of my working profession, I worked as an archivist at the Smithsonian and for the Department of the Navy. And after retirement, both of us started to travel, and we visited in the last 15, 20 years many countries in Asia and Africa and Europe and Central and South America. So that's a little bit about me.
That's great, and Tom is sitting here right there. So there he is. Let's give Tom a hand. He was the co-pilot on your journey, right? So,
well, he certainly was, yes.
So in November 2016, you received a diagnosis that you had breast cancer. Can you kind of tell us the story around that and how you found out? And
Yes. I had a normal mammogram in July, just 4 months prior to that, so I thought everything was fine. And we had just returned in early November from a trip to India, and I discovered a lump in my breast. So, of course, I went through the process, and my GYN recommended that I see Dr. David Weintritt as a follow-up. I had never heard of Dr. Weintritt, but it was the best recommendation I have ever received. So Dr. Weintritt immediately did a biopsy. The results came back that I had invasive ductal breast cancer, HER2 positive, stage 2. And it was very shocking news because I thought I was healthy. And so, but I was very anxious to begin treatment as soon as possible because I didn't want the cancer to spread.
And what treatment did they recommend for you at that time?
Well, after I had the Mediport put in, I had chemo and immunotherapy for 18 weeks. It was 6 sessions every 21 days. And of course, I lost my hair. I lost my appetite. But the good thing was that I didn't have to go through this process alone. Tom was very supportive. He would always tell me that I looked very nice even when I didn't have hair and was wearing a wig. And also, because food never tasted good, I had very odd food tastes. I, at one time, only liked green food. So he would bring me back broccoli and Brussels sprouts, green smoothies, and the thing that I really liked was dill pickles. So, and I think one of the best things we did together during this treatment process was we would go on mini getaways. He would take me to a bed and breakfast, and we would spend a couple days, just a couple days before the next session of chemotherapy. So that really helped a lot.
And so when you met the surgeon, he offered you a choice to participate in a clinical trial. Can you talk about that conversation and how that went?
Yes. Well, for me, I trusted Dr. Weintritt, so I had no hesitation in signing the consent form for the off-label use of the SPY-FI technology. So I was very confident to have surgery. I believed with all my heart that the chemotherapy and the immunotherapy had been very successful. So this surgery would sort of give the official, I guess, blessing that everything was going well and that I would be well again.
And just for everyone, so the SPY-FI is a Stryker technology that lights up cancer. It's lymphatic mapping of cancer. So the surgeon can see it using a contrast agent that you ingest prior to the procedure. You actually light it up so you can see where all the cancer is. And that had been used in other parts of the body, but not for breast cancer. It's now approved for that, and now many patients have access to that, but this was during the trial. She decided to do that. And so tell us about the surgery.
Well, because I was having both methods done, I first went to the nuclear medicine department because I would have to have radioactive dye injected into the breast cancer site. And I remember that I was taken by wheelchair through a long passageway, what seemed like forever, at least, being nervous and everything. And I met the radiologist for the first time, and he injected the dye, and then I remember sort of having to massage the area to diffuse the dye so that the lymph nodes would show up. And eventually they did, and I could see them, but of course I didn't have any idea which one was the sentinel lymph node. So I think the process took like about an hour, and then I returned to the pre-op, was taken to surgery, and the SPY-FI methodology was used while I was in surgery. I was under anesthesia, so everything to me was fine because I didn't know what was going on. And I know afterwards that Dr. Weintritt was very pleased, and the results were very good. And this would mean, if everything kept going as well as this first clinical trial, that you would no longer have to have that nuclear medicine radioactive dye portion of your treatment.
That's great. Looking back, what would you like to say to the surgeon and the care team that took care of you?
Well, I cannot say thank you enough or be more grateful to Dr. Weintritt, and I'm so grateful that I was part of this clinical trial because, oh my goodness, I had no idea when I signed the consent form what the impact was, and Dr. Weintritt was very confident that the sentinel lymph node had been identified, and he was able to remove it in its entirety and to tell me that it was cancer-free. So that was very good news.
So this fluorescence imaging, that the benefit is that the surgeon can see things they would never be able to see before because it gets lit up. We're now just recently approved for lung cancer with a different contrast agent. So we worked with a pharmaceutical company. We've just launched that in the last month. We also have the same indication for ovarian cancer, and we're pursuing a new contrast agent to be able to do it for bladder cancer. So in the past, they would go in for lung cancer, excise what they thought, where they thought the cancer was, then they'd send it to pathology, and they were never really sure. They still don't know today when they're doing these procedures without fluorescence imaging if they have it all. With the beauty of this fluorescence imaging is it lights up all the cancer, so you know when you're doing the surgery you've gotten it all. So that's the power of fluorescence imaging, which actually came to Stryker through an acquisition of Novadac, which we did about 5-6 years ago. But pretty exciting to get surgeons to see things they could never see before. But you had the courage to sign for that clinical trial. And so how does it feel knowing that you've now made this available to all future patients that no longer have to go through the nuclear treatments and be able to have this very minimally invasive procedure, which, as you say, it felt fine. I know you were asleep, but it sort of felt fine.
I wasn't worried in the least bit.
So we want to thank you for your efforts in making this available to a large section of the population. It takes courage to sign up for trials, and we have to go through that. For every new indication, we have to get a trial. Sometimes surgeons will do it off-label, but we can't really promote it and train surgeons until we get the FDA approval. So thank you for that effort. I think it's very nice timing to do this as well, with October being Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And so I want to thank Judy on behalf of Stryker and on behalf of the entire medical device industry. Thank you.
Thank you.